Hey, yo, and welcome to the second week of Just Data January, where we try to help you navigate your data collection needs and help you to make small but impactful changes to your court outcomes. I'm hoping to give you a little bit of insight today on how to engage your court in a process called rapid cycle testing. This process helps you to check in on a specific aspect of your practices, make a change, and see if that change had the result that you hope for. Rapid cycle testing is a way to get engaged in a process of CQI, continuous quality improvement, that takes a little less time and expertise than a full program review, but still helps you to guide your program in an evidence based way. Rapid cycle testing is, in its essence, a mini experiment. If you go back to your early science classes in junior high or high school, you probably heard about the scientific method, where we make a hypothesis, we design an experiment to test our hypothesis, collect some data, analyze it to find results, and then we do it all over again. If we were doing rapid cycle testing in our courts, we would first look at an observed barrier, something that we'd like to remove, and then we'd make a guess or a hypothesis about what might be causing this barrier so that we can try and make an impactful change. I believe that there are probably enough barriers that it should be relatively easy to come up with something, though, of course, we're happy to help you decide on something that might be relevant to your courts as well. The key here is that whatever we choose is small enough to be isolated so that we can look at just one thing at a time and that it's testable. So we can look at, analyze some data, get some real evidence for the fact that that change was relevant and useful. So, thinking about a example of what this might look like in a court, a barrier might be that participants are not moving between their phases in a timely way. You'd like them to be moving through faster, or you feel like there would be a benefit to that. Now, as a possible educated guess on the root causes, um, we might think that motivation is the issue. So our therapeutic responses, they aren't motivating participants or they aren't motivating a particular group of participants. So we'll look at motivation, at therapeutic responses, at culture, and maybe try and think of a change that might be relevant to those specific topics. When we decide to make a change as a group, we decide, you know what, we're going to change our therapeutic response matrix. We're going to look at best practices, some samples, research articles, try and find some background information that can guide us in this process. We'll maybe talk to a cultural expert in a group that we know we're not motivating particularly well. We might ask some survey experts, for instance, someone from your state FTC team. And then we'll decide on that change, pick a date, and make that change on a specific timeline. From there, we're going to think about how we're going to determine or decide whether that change was effective. So that means before we even put this into place, we have to do some testing. A survey works really well for these rapid cycle testing environments. So we decide as a group, we're going to do a survey of all of the participants, and we're going to do that immediately. So before we make a change, we do it the first time, and then we'll do it again, maybe at 6, at 9 months, at 3 months. Whenever after the new matrix was put into place. We'll plan this out really strategically so that the first time we have this base level of data before we made a change, and then we can have those later dates to compare it to. We may find that the change is clearly significant right from the very first time that we test it, and then we can move on to changing something else. But that really depends on what the results come out. So then at this point, we're wanting to analyze our data. And in this, we really should be consulting with an expert. If you happen to have someone on your team who has a really strong basis of statistics, maybe you have an FJCIP person who can look at this, or maybe you want to ask someone from the state FTC team to look at that. These are all places that you can go to get some more information. We don't want to make assumptions based on what something one or two people say. Instead, we want to look at a whole sample. Particularly, we want to get some advice from someone if we're looking at different demographic groups, we're comparing things. So once we get those final results, we can make some decisions about where to go next. So, one, we might decide, oh, it helped. We're going to keep our revised matrix. We might decide it helped, but it could be better. So, we're going to make some updates. We're going to test again. Or we might find it actually didn't help at all. And so we'll go back to our original method of using therapeutic responses, and we'll just test something else and see if that might have been the root cause was different, or it wasn't motivation that was the problem. There are a lot of different ways or things that we can test using rapid cycle testing. And the main points that you should take from this is that it's really important to be extremely specific so you can be sure of the direct impact of your change, but also that it's great to ask for help. If you want some advice on making a survey, on choosing a barrier, or how to analyze that data, please send an email along to your friendly state grant team or state FTC team, and we'd be happy to help. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week. Happy Just Data January.